Hello everyone. Welcome to the YouTube Mall Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the Tuesday night presentations, the YouTube Mall Builders, eMag, and the YouTube Mall Builders live show. I want to say thanks for everybody joining in tonight's show. And here's your host for the night, Johnny Reb of Southeast Rails. Hello everybody. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. Let me get over here where I can see the chat. Alrighty. Ron.
Yes.
Next time when you mute your mic, I could hear every click of the mouse that's coming out in the intro.
Sorry.
Yeah, no biggie. Well, see, we got a few people out here in the chat. We got John, Cabana Bob, Marcus, Dave, Phil. Oh, hey, Phil. AJ, how you doing? And we got Josh and Chris and Andy and Ron over here in the chat. Y'all doing all right for a Thursday night?
Doing good.
Yes, sir. I survived the week. It's almost Friday, so it's all positive from here.
Thursday is my Friday, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, same here.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, well, I've been, oh, hey, Sherry. How you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you and your husband are doing good. Yeah, we got the link to the chat if you want to come in, because I know you got a camera. Yeah. There's ON30 Dave. Well, anyway, I guess you could say today's my birthday or whatever. I got a few Amazon packages. Bought me a brand new camcorder and a wireless microphone to go with it. I'm going to take it out there to Altoona.
Very cool.
Yeah, hopefully we get to do a little recording there, a little round table stuff.
Yeah, Sherry says she's sitting on the table doing ballast. Yeah, it's not really my birthday, Marcus. It's just, you know, not too often I get packages in the mail, so I call it my birthday. Oh my God, it's terrible. All right, AJ said he's been doing good. Been busy building things, hopefully. I'll be ready to show and tell next week or the following week. Okay, AJ, we'll be interested in seeing. Kind of like to see the building process. Hopefully you at least take us some pictures to post them. Yeah. Sherry says Saturday's her birthday. Happy birthday, Sherry. I can send them to her.
Happy birthday.
I dare you to ask her how old she'll be.
No, you never ask a lady that.
I know, that's why I dared him to do that.
Sherry's a Michigan girl. She'll whoop you up real good. She'll put a whomping on you. She knows how to walk that mud hole dry once she stomped it in there. Nah, Sherry's a real nice person. She said 50.
Well,
I can relate to that, Sherry. I've got one of those coming up in just about 3 months myself.
Yeah. My wife does due in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, the big 5-0. Yeah, my son just had a birthday last Sunday, so he getting close. He got 6 more years to go.
That's not close, brother. We don't round up, okay?
No.
I'm 40 next year. But I am still in my 30s until the very day.
And we definitely don't round up by 6 years.
Hey, at my age, I'll round it up. But when it comes to my age, I'm rounding down.
Rounding down, that's right.
It's either that, or if you're like me, you round up a little bit, and then you say, "Yeah, well, being for 50 or whatever," and then people look at you and go, "Oh, you look really good for 50."
Yeah.
So,
all right,
You round up when you're 16. As you approach 40, I'm not willing to round up by 24 hours.
Your audio's okay, Andy, but it sure is out of sync.
It's lagging by about 15 seconds.
Ron, I got something, question for you from Marcus. Did you go to the Plano train show, or was you even close to there?
Well, we drove through Plano, but we just drove through. We were in Houston, so no, I didn't have time to do. I didn't even have time to go to the model railroad shops in Houston. we were literally. We got up in the morning, ate breakfast, went to a job site, and worked all day, and came home, and were thankful to have a shower and to sit down for the evening and go to bed and do it again. So it was a good week, but we didn't have time to do a lot else. So unfortunately, no. I've been to that Plano train show. I used to live in Fort Worth, and I've been to that, but it's been 15 years ago or so. Dallas Fort Worth has great train shows. When they do a train show down there, Fort Worth had one every year, and they would do layout tours just kind of like you would do at the National Model Railroad Association or some of those bigger train shows, and they really did a top-notch job down there whenever they put one on.
Yeah, hey, Split Rock. He just joined us.
I remember Texas having a pretty good modeling community at large. I was stationed down there quite a bit and was still trying to model a little bit when I was in service. I was doing that foolish in-scale stuff, but I tried to model in a dormitory when I was in service.
We really got to get Andy an Apple computer. Maybe I don't want to go to the Altoona show. Oh, Sherry, no, actually all you have to do to come in is go to the posting and collect a link for the panel, and what it'll do is you'll have to load up a software, but it only takes a few seconds. It's just for Chrome, because you gotta use Chrome. That's one's really compatible with this, but no, not really. It's just kind of like a plug-in. It'll install for you real quick and then bring you right on in. But yeah, you haven't been in this, so you'll like it. The video and the audio is a whole lot better than what we had in Hangouts. So you can just click on the link. It's appear.in YTMB-live. That's the room we use for our broadcast. And there she is. Hey, Sherry. Your microphone's muted. It'll be down there at the bottom, about the middle of the screen.
It's been over a year or so.
Hang on.
Year or two?
Hang on, Josh. Yeah, she's got. Oh, you may have to go up in the cam mic straight up top, middle of the screen at the very top, and check your settings there for your microphone. But we got your video. Hey, Steve from UK. You're up a little early this morning. Oh, let's see. Somebody just asked a question. New Haven Rails. Anyone going to the Fine Scale Expo? Yes, we are. I will be there. And so will Andy down here. And Big Bill. And yeah, Chris Reed, not the Chris here, but a different Chris. All four of us are doing an Airbnb
Chris
house.
Rude.
Yeah. So I tell you what, New Haven, just look for the what's this, charcoal or black shirt. Mine's gonna have YouTube on it. Mall Builders. So if you don't see the shirt, just look for the big shine in the room. That's me.
For the light reflecting off in weird directions,
Yeah.
Like a disco ball.
A car lot has, like, you know.
Hey Ari, how you doing? Yeah, so look around, try and find us. We'll be glad to meet up. We say howdy and all. I'm not sure if I'll be in the vendor room, but I will be in the show, and I will be doing a few of the clinics. So will Andy and Big Bill. We'll be doing a few clinics on Friday and Saturday. I mean, being the nut I am, I mean, if you're looking for us and they got a PA system, just say, hey, Johnny, you're lost your kid. He's up front at the information counter. Come pick him up, and I'll come up there and get you.
Hey, Johnny, your pickup's on fire. That's the...
You know, actually, I don't know what I'm going to have up there. I'm not driving any of my vehicles.
It sounded good.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I don't drive my own vehicles. That way, if there happens to be an accident, I'm not out of a vehicle. The rental car is. But I'm not sure. I hadn't really decided if I want to go with the Rolls Royce this time or do the Ferrari again or what, you know.
I would go for the Ferrari.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable.
Yeah, but you don't have to sit in it very long.
That's true.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, the audio's still not working there, Sherry. Let's see. You got any ideas, Andy?
Andy's audio is lagging.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with the Ferrari, but the Rolls Royce over the long trip. It's a pretty long trip up there.
All right, here comes Australia. We got Bradley. He's just checking in. All right, New Haven, are you going to be a vendor up there, or you just going to be in the vendor's room looking around? Yeah, sorry, Sherry is up there in Michigan.
I want to see you get.
Yeah, Sherry, a couple of them here is saying go into your Windows control panel and look for, or click on the speaker down at the bottom of your toolbar and see if that microphone is showing up on the sound part. All right, New Haven said he's just attending the show. He goes every year.
Don't they have it different places every year?
Yeah.
What kind of mic does she have?
Do what, Josh?
It depends on what kind of mic does she have. It could be the same
Laptop.
problem with like Lee.
Laptop.
The good thing is if you go into sound properties, it has a little gauge right there. So she can talk and look at the gauge. If it's metering in there, then you know you have an issue with a peer. If it's not metering, then your laptop might possibly have a mute switch on it. Not many do, but occasionally that they used to. Or the sound recording device is not set to the proper device in your recording devices under the control panel. That's the first place to check.
All right, Split Rock's got a good comment here. Do you guys like the layouts at train shows or the sales area or both? Do you think train flea markets should be separate from the shows?
Yes to the last part. Flea market at a show that's a tough merge, generally. And then I guess
when you
nobody
live
else
in an
has
area,
opinion. I say I don't care. I generally don't care as much for the modular layouts, but I'll look for inspiration anywhere I can get it. My favorite thing about the shows is the vendors, especially the small cottage vendors that you often have a hard time getting information from. Mr. Rizzabi. How are you?
Hey, Ralph.
Tis me. Did I hear a question about flea markets at
shows.
train shows?
Yeah.
And what was the response?
Well, Ari up here says he likes the sales, but it's good to see what clubs are around. All right, Michael, something else.
Okay, I'll give you my response. When I go to train shows and I see flea markets and it's the same crap being sold from one show to the next, like Tim Morris, I would love to be able to take all that flea market stuff, put it in a dumpster and light it on fire so it doesn't make another show. Because I don't think anybody uses it. I think all they do is they buy it up, they try and make a buck on it. They bring it to the next show.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy is having problems. He's got a lag there, so.
So you're saying when you see it at the shows, what you're seeing is
wow. We lost Andy for a minute.
Yeah, he got mad. He's going to go switch computers now.
My issue is always this, and that is, of course, I'm near Kansas City, and they have 2 or 3 train shows a year up there, and I used to go to them pretty regularly. But it literally gets to where you see the same layouts and the same both flea market type stuff and vendors with the exact same things every single show.
Mm-hmm.
I quit going to the regular Kansas City shows years ago just because I could go to one next month and it'd probably be the exact same stuff that I saw 5 years ago whenever I was there. It's not big, maybe it's not big enough, I guess, or whatever, to bring vendors, from a distance in and see what's new and what's, what kind of the latest thing is, like you'd see at some of the bigger shows. So yeah, I get the point where I think, what's the point of doing this 2 or 3 times every year?
Yeah, and unless the vendor is big enough, you're not going to see new stuff because he's going to bring the same crap every time.
Right. And when I say vendors at that show, really what you're talking about is the hobby shops or the guys who've got a little, mom and pop kind of operation making, a couple of laser kits that they're trying to sell to everybody or whatever.
Right. So their stuff is really not the flea market stuff. It's still a little private.
No, it's not
trying to sell the junk.
But it's still the same thing every time.
Yeah.
I'd rather see them do one show every 2 or 3 years and try to do something that was fresh than just repeat the same stuff over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I want to keep going back and seeing the same stuff over and over? The answer is I don't, and so I just don't go anymore.
Yeah, Cabana Bob says Chicago and Milwaukee's the same thing.
Yeah.
New Haven said, go to Amherst show. You see some of the same stuff, but lots of new stuff as well.
My issue there is I can only travel so much,
Split Rock's got another good question here, and that's what is a fair cost for an entry fee into a train show or a flea market?
$5.
If it's a flea market, that's really just a flea market. My question would be, why is there an entry fee at all?
Well, somebody has to pay for the haul.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, but
most of them around here are $6, and the Railroad Club gives $1 off if you go to the coupon, which is fun.
Hey, Sherry.
I don't.
That's true.
Pay more $3 around here. $5.
That's true in Kansas City too, and if you take a kid that's like 12 or under, they get in for free.
Well, that's me. I just put my toupee on. It makes me look a lot younger.
Yeah, you're 12 times 5.
Hush. I wish I had a mute button.
Now, Jack.
Yeah, you're a little out of sync there, Sherry. Well, usually what we do is hold the shift key down and hit F5. That does a quick refresh, and that helps on being syncing up. Oh, here come Andy.
Well, I've got a question for looking for an idea or a suggestion beyond the obvious. Ralph, you might have a thought on this. I'm looking at scratch building, a commercial building in Texas that's built out of prefab aggregate-faced walls. And I'm looking for a good way to make those aggregate-faced walls beyond just gluing sand on a piece of styrene. Any brilliant suggestions?
I got one for you.
And you're talking in scale too, right?
I'm talking in scale, right? That's
So you can't really put the sand on the side of the building because then it's not going to look
right.
right.
I have a suggestion for you.
Okay.
Modeling clay. All right, make a thin, smooth patty of modeling clay, either the air dry or the bake, and take a sandpaper. The fine grit is going to probably be somewhere, I guess, maybe 180, 220, something like that.
220 grit or something, yeah.
Yeah, you press it into it. And lift.
I was looking for maybe a way to use the sandpaper itself, but I couldn't figure out how to really make it look realistic around the edges. And
I have a piece. Let me go grab it.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
The other thing is you can now get these textured spray paints.
Mm-hmm.
And they spray up pretty good, and they give you
the textures.
A texture in the paint.
Will the texture be fine enough though for in scale?
You'll have to try it. I don't know.
I have to look and try one. Yeah.
Yeah, if you got a
I had kind of thought about that, but the results that I had seen, I was afraid that it wouldn't be fine enough. Here, let me make your picture bigger here so I can see that again.
Let me see if I can get the light going the right way on it too for you. But anyway, I mean, it's a little thick. You can make it thinner than this, but it actually has.
Oh, I see it now. There you
go.
go.
There you go. That's the angle right there.
Okay.
And you just press the sandpaper into the clay and then let it harden or bake it.
Yeah, you just make an imprint, right? Set it down and press it, and then lift it off, and then move it wherever you want, and then either let it dry or bake it, and then paint it. This clay started out whatever pink, and that's whatever, like a concrete color.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
And then you mold it around the corners, and you just press it around the corners, so you'll have the texture go wherever you want. So,
and no seams.
And no seams.
That might be worth experimenting with there.
Yeah.
I've been playing with it. And for 40 grit makes really big dimples, and I think this is like 180 maybe here, somewhere in there.
I was thinking like 220 if I use the sandpaper, but I'm not sure how much texture 220 grit would put into the clay. You might have to go with something more like a 180.
Yeah. So. But then also on top of that, to bring out the texture so you can see it, right? You put a wash down in the craters and the dry brush on the top. Right. It'll bring it out.
And it's amazing what the eye does when you look at something like that. I've seen guys do rivets where they actually impress the rivet into the surface rather than having it standing proud.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, you can't tell the difference unless you really get down and study it.
Yeah, optical illusions work well.
Well, that's what I've been working on an article for the eMag, is the next one's on N-scale stuff, and that's one of the things I was literally writing some of that today about the fact that I think an N-scale is easier than it is in larger scales to suggest detail and fool the eye into seeing detail that isn't really there. It's one of the things I like about N-scale. So yeah, I think this is an instance where you can do that with the right technique. I just got to find for sure what the right technique is.
All right. Well, we got a couple of comments right here on that. Let's see. All right, Michael. He said, Ralph, what is your perspective on putting graffiti on rolling stock and how much is okay? No, wrong one. We'll get to the graffiti thing in just a second, Michael. Oh, okay. Marcus, how about using grout? Since it is really fine, maybe some spray adhesive and sprinkle the grout onto that. New Haven says, Ron, I built a Craftsman kit and simulated a stone front using pre-mixed tile grout.
Yeah.
I use tile grout for all kinds of stuff, and especially if you get the unsanded grout.
Yeah, it would have to be
It's a
unsanded
lot
for
finer.
N-scale.
Yes. Or talcum powder, which works really good with oil-based spray paint. So,
Yeah, but
acrylics or whatever normally set up.
talcum powder is not going to give you a texture. Not in the way that sand would. It makes the surface uneven, but it doesn't make it like a stucco sort of thing.
Yeah, okay, that's
Sure.
real
It's almost more
fine.
like a cottage cheese kind of a look, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, guys have been using talcum powder for years. You paint your surface while it's wet. You sprinkle the talcum powder on, and then paint again. But there must be sunspots or something that's affecting the internet.
Yeah. Can you not hear him? Because I can't hear him.
No, I can't hear him either.
Yeah.
He's lagging by 15 or 20 seconds.
Well, the thing of it is, too, is when you're in the free rooms here, the more people you have, the connection deteriorates, too, a little bit. All right, Marcus was, no, it wasn't Marcus. Let me find it again.
Michael.
Michael. All right, well, yeah, Ralph is not crazy about the graffiti, but, yeah, I mean, like, Phil was saying a while ago, you know, it's what you want to do with your layout. When you get too carried away with the graffiti, just start out with a little bit on the bottom edge of the box cars or whatever.
I'm going to respond to that. Just let me go get this book I want to show him.
Okay.
And my 2 cents on it is I'm all for graffiti on box cars or any other train cars, as long as you do it in the right spots. When you sit there and you see graffiti and it takes up, all right, the whole side of a car, okay, that's not realistic. You got to remember people are only this big, so you got to get it down low to the bottom, you know. And
That's not necessarily true.
No,
you don't want to do that.
Not on
I have
everything,
seen some,
but
I've seen some beautiful real life graffiti that covered the entire side of a car. I don't know how they did it, but I've seen some. It's incredible.
yeah,
Like,
but
you got to be kidding me. I wish they could put that art to something, you know, constructive. But
you know, and I mean, some of it's really pretty, and some of it just looks like somebody took spray paint and put "I was here."
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
All right, real quick before we get started again, we got to remember to treat this like a two-way radio, because everybody's starting to talk at one time again, and so make sure the person that's already talking quits before you chime in. I know it gets a little difficult sometimes, but you know. All right, Ralph.
Okay, so here's the book that I got. Freight Train Graffiti. It cost me $24. The thing's about an inch thick, and it gives you the whole history of graffiti, from the chalk markings on the side of the car to the current sort of thing you see now. And depending on what you want to do for your railroad, it's all up to you. My personal opinion, graffiti does not belong on my railroad. I disagree with it 100%. If a customer asks me to weather a car and put graffiti on it, I will ask him how serious he is and tell him that I don't agree with it. But if he wants it, he gets it. And it depends on how much you want. And a little bit on the corner or the whole side of a car. I've seen portraits done on the side of a car, and they look amazing. But to me, it's the wrong place to be doing it. So on my railroad, I don't have graffiti at the moment. I hope that answers your question. Well, like how much is too much or how little is too little? It's all up to you. And then what era are you modeling? Because then you have to find out what style of graffiti and how much is done, because it's getting to be the whole side of a car nowadays. The graffiti artists are walking into the yards with ladders now.
Yeah, well,
whereas they didn't have them before.
Well, look at the screen here. Josh has got one up. It's a whole car. Of course, it's an auto rack, so they'll probably have to repaint.
So it's a really tall car.
Yeah.
They'll wind up having to repaint the cars inside.
How about now? Is my audio any better?
Yeah.
It is.
Good.
That's a wholly different computer, so I would hope so.
Well, I'll say, Ralph, I agree with you that on a railroad car or anywhere else, that is not where graffiti belongs. I do some graffiti on my layout just because that's what the prototype has. I don't do a lot of it, and I'm very careful about what I would, I make sure I know what I put on represents, because there are some things I don't want on my railroad for sure. I don't put gang graffiti on my railroad, and I make sure that if I put something on there, it's not gang graffiti. And I use it pretty limited, but I use some just because that's what you see in the real world.
That would be my approach if I did modern, or when I eventually get some time to do something. I would do a little modern. And I don't like graffiti. I despise it. It's vandalism, even though I view the art in it. But I do things on mine that are what they are. That's what was there.
That's kind of
real fast here. Just jump back a little bit to the concrete. Split Rock Ron said the AK concrete mix is nice. So is their asphalt mix. So you might want to look at AK products.
AK Interactive.
AK products.
Yeah, AK Interactive, Ralph said. All right, back to graffiti.
Now, in this book, they explain the beginnings of graffiti and what it meant. And they wanted to see how far their tags would go. And guys would reply to the tag. And if that car came back to town, he could see how far it went. It's a whole different ballgame nowadays.
So it's a messaging system, kind of on par with a carrier pigeon, or like smoke or something.
Exactly.
This is to the internet, and it's art though.
So if you're going to do graffiti, I suggest, if you don't get this book, at least look into the history of it and where it went. Investigate before you start.
Where'd you get the book, Ralph?
I got this from Amazon for $24.
I was thinking, didn't the hobos started it, didn't they? Marking the cars with different signs?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Split Rock, and he is kind of true about this. He says, seems every discussion on mall graffiti slides into ethics of it rather than the modeling of it.
There are some ethical dilemmas, though, and that's not the only one, but there's numerous of these. If you model what's there, especially if you're modeling era-specific modeling, there are things that are not that are ethically challenging to think about. But if you're into recreating what was really there, if you're a recreationist, you do it without implications because it's not your ethics. You're just doing what the real world is that. What's in the real world?
Because you're modeling the real world.
That's it. So in my case, I'm all about safety. There are things that I don't like about the ethics, but that was what was there.
But you could also go based on the rule that it's your railroad and there's no graffiti like Ralph does. So it's a two-way streak.
That comes back to how freelance you are.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I am not doing a prototype. I'm freelance prototype. So
Yep.
While you're chinning the book, Ralph, can you give us the name of the book Marcus was asking? It's hard to see with the glare. Freight Train Graffiti.
and the author's name is Roger Gassman, Darren Rowland, and Ian Sattler.
Yeah, I hear Roger's a real gas. Yeah, Split Rock said if you want to model graffiti, model from a photo.
That's about always the case.
Unless you're good at it. I mean, some guys have the knack for doing it.
Yeah.
But then it comes down to, what are you going to use to do it? Are you going to paint it on? Are you going to use decals? If you use the decals, you're limited to the amount that's available. If you're going to paint it on, then you have to have some sort of guide to paint from. That's where the book comes in. The whole gambit. I mean, like when I do my weathering, I work from a photograph, a prototype photograph.
I do everything for a prototype photograph. I build trees and I'm looking at photographs while I'm doing it. The human mind's ability to remember accurately I don't have any faith in its ability to remember accurately.
Well, unless you have.
I have faith in some people. I mean, some people are unbelievably artistic and envision stuff. I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are different levels of memory, but the human memory process is you remember based on relevance, not based on actual factual data. So.
All right. Ralph,
two of our sponsors make graffiti decals.
They're good too.
Yeah.
Both of them.
The ones that sponsor the live show.
Yeah, Dave's Decals and who's the other one?
Something Solutions.
Yeah, Weathering Solutions.
Yeah, Weathering Solutions. Yeah.
And if I was going to do graffiti, that's what I'd have to do, because I'm not an artist. And they have. Yeah, they have a pretty wide selection. I've seen people take colored pencils or acrylic pencils or whatever, but I can't.
Ralph, here's one for you, because you like to do the paints and all that. AJ just made the comment, color pencils when doing graffiti, I guess.
Okay. I've played around with a whole bunch of stuff. What I came up with for doing any of my weathering, I use watercolor pencils. I would imagine color pencils would work, but because they're so hard, they might scratch the paint you're working on.
I think,
especially if it's a custom painted car.
Oh yeah, I think the guys I've seen talk about that were using acrylic, so probably not that far from watercolor in softness.
Oh, do I want to do this? All right. I'll ask Split Rock's question just a second because that's going to be one lengthy discussion. I'm going to get over here. CJ up here. He's a new fella in our nightly live chats. He's out in the Louisiana area. I asked him if he'd come in tonight because I would like to have him give his opinion on what he thinks about our live chats.
Okay, I was just waiting for the conversation in the end.
It did.
No, I mean, for the people that are out there, I mean, don't be scared or nervous thinking that, oh, just because I don't know anything, I don't want to go hang out with those guys. You know, actually, I think you really want to hang out with those guys more than anything. You know, I mean, questions get answered, ideas get come up with. You know, I mean, it's a real friendly group of people. You know, I mean, there's many good laughs and many topics talked about. You know, I say it's well worth for other people to start coming into it. You know. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, way I look at it is here you get a chance of getting real-time answers rather than on post you might have to wait a day, 2-3 days, a week before somebody's going to, you know, return a post back, or, you know, if you write into a magazine, that's going to be at least a month, even if they do, you know, answer it the next month in the issue.
It's definitely, I mean, it's faster than Facebook when you sit there and go, hey, what do you think of this? Or what about that? You know, I mean, to have a response back, you know, within seconds, you know, is awesome. Much less, you know, I mean, I enjoy model railroading. My friends think I'm crazy. All right. So I don't have friends in my area to share it with. So, you know, I mean, modern technology lets us have video conferencing now, so I can share it with a whole group of people that are into the same thing that I am.
Yeah, and the cost is very cheap because you can use your laptop with a built-in camera, so
that's it.
And webcams are really cheap too. You can pick up some decent Logitech webcams for $20 to $35 that just plug in USB and you're up and running. The biggest problem is just the internet connection you have, because, you know, we do have bad internet connections around the country. So
yeah, and even if you do that, if you switch off your camera and just come in with your mic on and say hi and stuff, people will still talk to you.
Oh yeah.
But if you slow down on the camera, it should improve the connection a little bit to where you'll be able to hear and communicate still. You know?
It does. It does when you have the camera turned off.
You know, so
just like what Sherry just did.
Exactly, and then even with the chat in there to share links and things that you find along the way, or even pictures, and say, hey, you know, I saw this. What is it? You know, and you can get an answer back, you know, faster than anything else that I know of. And most of the time, it might even be correct.
Yeah. We try to make sure it is as correct as possible. Go ahead, Ron.
I want to just reiterate, you know, something that you said too, because, you know, I started this YouTube channel about, what, 6 or 7 months ago, and half the reason why I started the YouTube channel is because I live in a small town and I've lived here for, you know, 8 years, and there is no model railroading community here. And so half the reason I started the YouTube channel was just in an effort to kind of make some connections and build some kind of community, which I found already existed and I didn't even know it. And so for that reason, I love the nightly live chats, and whenever I can, you know, I like to come in and enjoy them because you know, I can bounce ideas off of guys just like the aggregate idea, you know, ideas a while ago, and I always get some good ideas, and I learn, and hopefully I can share something positive along the way too.
That's it. I mean, we put all this time and effort into it, you know, and why not share it with more people?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have a few YouTube videos up, and I put that up just more to share with my family that's out of state, you know, because my kids have moved away, and they like to look at it every now and then just to keep up and stuff like that. And same thing with my parents, you know, but to have a community of a bunch of people that are into the same thing that I am, enjoying my layout just as much as I'm enjoying everybody else's that I can view and see, you know, I enjoy that.
And plus you get to watch the guy's layout progress while he's working.
Yes, and that's awesome too.
Yeah, because I admit I haven't had the camera on my workbench for a while. I do have a capture card that I haven't learned how to get set up right yet, but I'm fixing to get that done since I've got another neat webcam. I mean, camcorder. I found webcams sitting on a tripod at a distance from the workbenches. They are adequate, but you know, not that adequate. So I'll use my camcorder. That way I can really do better zoom ins, keep the focus really good. Now I've got the camcorder anyway, so the capture card wasn't too bad. I think that was about $100 for that, and another, I don't know, $25–30 for a 50-foot HDMI cable to run from the camera back to the computer. So, which gives me enough length that if I get a layout going, I'll be able to have the camera at the workbench and then bring the camera back around to where the layout is. But initial cost getting into it is pretty nominal, as long as you got a decent laptop, a good internet connection. But the biggest thing is just the camaraderie and being able to get questions answered and bounce ideas around.
That's it.
I mean, just like CJ's doing right now with his LED lighting, that's a rather unique way of doing it, because he took a piece of angle iron aluminum, mounted the white lights on one leg, one side, put the RBGs on the other side, and set it up there like a V. Looks like it's going to work out really well.
Yeah. Proofs of concept, one step at a time, but they're coming.
And Michael, I saw your question earlier. I just want to get this part here so you guys know what's going on in the nightly chats. Michael wants to know, how would you model snow? What's good to use? I mean, people have used what, talcum powder? They got snow products too, Ralph.
They have flex paste and snow stuff. I've seen a few videos on it. I've never used it, but I know it's out there.
Yeah.
I think it was actually a woodland seeding product called flex paste, big white goopy stuff.
Yeah, and you can make icicles with it. But the woodland seeding snow, to me, just my personal opinion, what I've seen done with it looks like a holiday or a Christmas thing. It's not very realistic for doing photos, or for short term, put it on there, take some photos or something. Loose plaster works great, but it's not a long-term solution. It's not a permanent layout solution. Now, it's got a Jurg something from Germany, I think, or Switzerland, maybe. He has some of the best looking snow I have ever seen, but I don't know what he's using. You know, snow piles, Mike Confalo does this thing with white florist foam, basically. It looks like this. It's a white sail-like foam. He makes little chunks of that. He's got a technique for making these snowdrift piles that he's and those videos are on Trademaster TV, and that works great for the snowdrift piles after a major snow, or what he's modeling is the very early spring, late winter, early spring. Loose powder, like you'd see on a ski slope in the mountains. I've seen people do it, but I have no idea what they're using to get the effect.
Got anything on that one, Ralph? Nope. Okay.
I'm not even going to touch that one, because there's, no matter what you do, there's really no way to fix it in place. If you use drywall mud before you mix the water into it, you've got that powder, drywall powder, whatever you want to call it, or even plaster of Paris before you add water to it. They all make good looking snow, but don't ever try and move it around, because then it won't look good anymore.
Don't have any fans on in the room either.
That's right.
Like Ken Patterson's done photos with it, and it looks great. He gets exceptional results, but that's That's a temporary thing. He's dusting layout, shooting some photos. Even then, it looks messy because you see it blowing all over his yard and such. But permanent. People have done it. I have no idea what they're using. But that Woody's product, Woodland City's product, they have plenty of great products. I haven't seen good results of it personally.
I think the Woodland Cynics one is the only one that you can really fix in place. They tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
The video I saw, the guy, what he did was he was putting down that white flex paste for the build, and then just like you would whatever grout, spoon, little tap, tap, tap to put the powder on top of it, and then the paste was, when it dried, it fixed it in place.
Yeah, so the paste makes the snow up, and all you're doing is dusting on something that gives that kind of a sparkle thing. Which, honestly, if you could get a very subtle texture on top of something like the flex paste, and then dust it with one of those chalk mediums that have a sparkle, like Miles is real fond of this black colored the weathering powders everybody's so fond of these days, I can't think of them, but little discs of makeup, women's makeup looking thing. But those things, they have a version of that has a very sparkly black, and it's great for putting on fake coal loads, because coal, most people think coal looks like a rock. It doesn't at all. It's shiny, but it's clean. Coal is shiny. I mean, it becomes a diamond, after.
I'm going to share a screen, and I'll only put it up for a few seconds. You'll see this is photography at its best. It would never work for a layout because it just, like we said, you can't really fix it in place. All right, so where's my script? There we go. Can you see this?
No, black screen.
Oh yeah, well, hang on a sec.
Barely can't see the letters. Let it snow.
My share. Come on. There we go. This guy is from Holland.
That's that Jurg guy I'm talking about, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
he's phenomenal. There's got to be some Photoshop in that too, though, because he's getting some dust and effects. He's by far the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't think you could operate through it.
There's another use for a flat car. Make a bridge over a creek.
Yep.
It used to be really common for service roads, many of the places in Appalachia where service roads go over to a signal or to a turnout position. Flat car is really common.
So, I mean, it depends on what you want to do with it. If you want to just sort of hint that there's snow on the ground, the way that Mike Confalone does it is I think the best. It's the end of the winter season, spring is coming up, and all the snow is dirty and in little piles around the layout.
Yeah, I got some pictures of his saved. I'll go pull them up. I'll show you a picture or two of what his looks like. 'Cause I've never seen anybody get as close as he has to it, and it's just quite sorrowful.
All right, Ralph, I got a question here from Phil for you.
Okay.
He says, to use an airbrush, what do you mix with your dull coat and how much, and what to use to clean the airbrush after.
Okay. So that's Phil's question?
Yeah.
Okay. For dull coat, where the heck did the bottle go? I use dull coat in a 50-50 mix. And I get it in jars. The Tester's dull coat. It's an 1 ounce and 3/4 jar, and I mix it 50-50 with lacquer thinner. And when I spray very lightly. I don't put a heavy coat on. Just a very light coat with an airbrush. And then I'm cleaning the brush. I run lacquer thinner by itself through the brush a few times. And I have a paint pot that I can spray into, so it's not all over the room. And if you do that as soon as you're finished, it won't build up in your brush. That's what I do. So if you're painting, let's say you're doing acrylics. So I'm doing a black now, and then I'm going to do a yellow, and then I'm going to do an orange or whatever. When I finish with the black, I clean it out with acrylic brush cleaner, and then I switch to my other color. And when I say clean it out, first I use Windex. If it's an acrylic, I use Windex, the original Windex, into the cup, swish it around with a paintbrush, and then spray it out, or pour it out and put some fresh Windex in and do it again. Then move on to my next color. And do that every time. When you're finished, on the last color, you go through the same process, but you finalize it with a proper airbrush cleaner, not just Windex. So the paint doesn't have a chance to build up inside. And that's the worst enemy, is when the paint starts to build up inside. If you don't have it mixed properly.
Yeah.
The consistency you're looking for is about that of 2% milk.
Phil said thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Andrew's just showing a few of these pictures here, the snow patches.
Yeah, his is about the best, and you can see occasionally some spots when he's taking photos that you wouldn't see naturally from the aisle because his slab's quite high. But you look down, you can see the breaks in the pieces of snow that are this white foam that he cuts and matches it with his finger, molds it into position. Got a pretty good video on Trey Master about how he does it, but and then uses little washes of, I don't know, acrylics or oils. Probably need to use acrylics, but to get kind of dirty edges and stuff to it, and to get it along parking lots. It works.
For the foam, he uses an ink alcohol wash.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I do use stuff to dirty the edges. I don't remember. His video's quite good on it, but it's just white foam, cut into little slivers and packed onto the side. His methods for cedar are largely what I've adopted. I don't do snow, but largely what I've adopted because they're incredibly effective and they're doggone fast. Like I would, if I was to do it by layout over again, I'd use a lot more florist foam. It's just so fast. Anyway, I think that might be one of the snow pictures I have.
But florist foam is a little bit on the expensive side.
It is. It is. It's sure a lot faster. That's the reason I opted not to, basically, but it's sure a tremendous lot faster.
I don't know, maybe if you go by the funeral home, you may be able to pick up some for free.
Yeah, in small pieces.
Well, hey, you're gonna break it up anyway.
So I have used it a little bit. I built a few of the hilltops, and I'll tell you what I would do is use the pink foam structurally, and I'm going to use the forest foam up on the top where it's really hard to work with for planting trees, and the forest foam is just super easy because it's perfect for it, and I don't need a ground cover. So you just put the forest foam in, paint it a little bit, throw some leaves on it, and then poke trees in it like crazy. So on my top level, I'm going to use pink foam for the base. And anywhere I have significant amounts, I'll put some pink foam, but I'll step back a couple inches from where I want, and I'll just put forest foam as the basic layer.
Tell you what, Sherry, how's the ballast coming along? And if you want to, you can just stick a thumbs up in front of the camera if it's doing okay. Yeah. What you been working on lately, Josh?
I actually have a problem right now.
Okay.
My coupling magnets that I made homemade, I put some DC power on them for the uncoupling magnets. They won't, and they should pull the uncoupling magnets from the car down and uncouple. Then they won't do it, and I even overheated this one a little bit, the one I installed. I'm having a little bit of a problem tonight.
Like maybe they're too far away.
Gotta answer about why I'm not having, why it's not pulling properly. I tested them before I installed that one, and it worked. Just now it won't.
Yeah, but when you tested that, how close did you have the magnet compared to where it's at now on the layout? Is the distance still the same?
Maybe about an inch.
The magnet was an inch away from the couple?
Yeah.
And it still activated it?
You should.
Well, should and doing are two different things.
It's been a couple weeks. It's been crazy lately.
Yeah, maybe that you just got the magnet too far away from where the coupler is.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to.
I mean, you can't have it sticking up. Yeah, you can't have it sticking up too high. You'll derail your cars.
I know. That's the problem.
Yeah, it sounds like you may have to build a little bit stronger magnet. Use a bigger wire.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. If it's getting too hot, you're putting too much current for the wire through it, or so you need to either use less current or you need to use larger wire. So because you shouldn't get a lot of heat on a magnet, electromagnet, unless you're either needed a set amount of strength, because then you have to overdrive them, or if you're going to leave it on for excessive periods and long periods of time, then you got to prepare for that. But in your case, the temporary use, you either want to use a larger wire or probably less voltage, because you don't need that strong of a magnet to flip.
Yeah.
Well, the thing of it is, right now, it's not uncoupling them, so he hasn't got a strong enough magnetic field.
Okay, but they're also getting hot, so it sounds like he's going to shorted the system or something, because it's both not producing a magnetic field, and also not producing a magnetic field and also getting hot. So it sounds like it's not getting the full range of the current. Like somewhere in there, if you use a wire, like
I turned it all the way up to 12 volts.
But it's also a double-edged sword here, Andy. He's got it an inch away from the coupler, and probably because it's not working properly, he's holding it a little bit longer, which is making it heat up.
But it's not getting a certain magnetic field to even do its job. So it's like there's the enable on those enabled wires. It's probably got skid somewhere, and it's shorting across it. So it's not going the full range of all those coils to produce it. So what you normally want to do is coil them up, check impedance. You should have quite a bit of impedance or resistance rather created by that coil. So if you're getting a short, then you'll have very low resistance, which will also cause you to heat up a lot. So it takes a lot of wounds, probably, to make a good magnetic field.
Yeah.
Bruce,
I only have,
Bruce,
I think it's 24 gauge wire, though. I mean, that's the gauge I ordered. Like I said on the thing.
Yeah, Bruce, I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name, but I'm pretty good at this. But okay, Bruce in the chat, he said also, with the heat, the resistance increases, and then the heat increases. In electronics terminology, we call it a runaway, or runaway effect. Nearly all electronics components suffer from that effect, where, like a resistor, as a resistor gets hot, it lowers the impedance, and causes the more electrons to travel through it faster, which causes it to continue to heat up, and it just goes into runaway to the magic smoke is released, as we say.
Okay. Okay. That, and just working on this backtrack. And then a couple of my way bills I redid. They were getting a little old. I redid them. And just working on this control panel over here. That's pretty much, actually the camera's not turned towards me. Okay.
Yeah, because you replaced the track back there, didn't you?
Nope. I'm installing the uncoupling magnets and tortoises, and these are the first home-built uncoupling magnets we've built. All the rest were from a guy. There used to be a hobby shop right down the road from me in a couple towns, and he would give me a discount on the old 027 uncoupling magnets.
Yeah.
And I used to get them pretty cheap compared to some people want the price for them. And I would cut them up and put them in these track. And that's what I have for the other section, though. I ran out of those, and I need... he used to give me, I think, $8 for them. I've seen them online for about $24 maybe, $24 or something. Yeah. And I'm trying to save some money, though. If I can't get them to work properly, I might just buy the try to find somebody that's selling a bunch of them and buy them.
You like doing research the magnets on the internet,
yeah,
and see what they have to say about those.
That's what I was reading on, and that's what I thought, though. John even said, I think the sewing spindles we bought were a little too small. There might not be enough wraps.
Yeah, that's a possibility, yeah.
They said 100 wraps, and I think we could only get almost, I forget how many wraps, so we got a little bit less than that.
Right, yeah, well, there you go.
That could be causing the problem.
Yeah, it sounds like you just don't have enough power going through it then, since you don't have the wraps that they recommended.
Yeah, and I had it turned all the way, I had my DC transformer turned all the way up to the fullest it goes, too.
Yeah, but you saw what happened. You're putting too much voltage through that small wire.
Yeah, so turn it down and try it one more time, and then if I don't get anything, we'll have to call this piece a bust. And just restart over again. I have 3 others completed.
Well, you just have to go to a larger spindle.
Yeah. Nope.
Good day,
Hey.
Marty. Or good afternoon, Marty. Marty just popped in.
Lunch with Marty.
What's for lunch, Marty?
Yeah, because
G'day,
about 20 after 1 where he's
I'm done having lunch with him. He never shares.
He's not even going to tell us what he's having for lunch.
I guess not.
Well, Michael's got a question for you, Ralph.
Okay.
All right. Well, real quick, Marty just put it up. Welcome to Lunch with Marty. Today's menu, ham and pickle rolls. Good.
Wait, is the pickle on the roll or is it baked into the roll? I mean,
it says pickle rolls, so I would say it's baked into it. Bread with pickles.
Ham and pickle rolls.
Yeah. Anyway, Michael said, Ralph, when you weather, besides chalks and weathering powders, for paints, do you use oils or acrylics?
Okay. First, let's get this straight. With my weathering, and this is the way I do it, I do not use chalk. Pastels are chalk. And I'm talking about the stuff that comes in the little cake pans. That's chalk. So I'll leave that because that's said and done. When it comes to my powders, they're paint pigments. And the paints that I use acrylic, I use oil, I use watercolor. And watercolor being gouaches, which come in a tube like oil paints do. I don't know whether you can see the name.
Yeah, now it come up. ACMI, AP.
Oh, there. Come on. There you go. Designer gouaches by Winsor Newton. That's what I use. And I would imagine there are other brands around, but this is the one I have the best results with. So I use it all. There's 2 or 3 different types of acrylic. I use them all. For doing my locomotives and rolling stock, I use a name brand like Tamiya paints. When it comes to doing buildings like I'm doing here, I'm using folk art paints, which are acrylics, the stuff you get at Walmart. I also use, where the hell did it go? Oh yeah, Americana. Craft paints. But I use the good stuff, the Tamiya paints on my rolling stock and locomotives.
All right, Ralph. Now's your chance. Plug time.
Plug time? All right. Starting October the 24th, we're going to be doing a live weathering series with me doing the weathering. So if you're interested, join in and see how I do it. I'm not saying mine is the best way, but it's the way that I use, works best for me. And if you get nothing out of my clinic on weathering, at least use dull coat. Whether it's from the rattle can or from an airbrush, use dull coat to get rid of the toy-like shine. If you're interested at all in weathering.
And that will be at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And October the 24th is a Tuesday night.
Thank you, John.
And Marty said the pickle is a spread only roll.
A spread? A pickle spread?
Yeah.
Oh, like relish?
It's like Vegemite.
I'm not going there. I'm not
That'll
going there.
That'll drive me nuts. It's like Vegemite.
Yeah. Michael said he's looking forward to it.
Good.
His other question was just real quick. I'm sure you'll go over it in the show anyway. And what do oils do that acrylics don't do?
There's two things.
Go ahead, Chris.
One of them is the oil, the enamels won't wash the acrylic off. It won't reactivate it. They don't react with each other.
That's true, but then I go back and forth between them, so it's a matter of how you treat the paint between coats. I always put a light dusting of dull coat between my paints. That way there's no chance of reactivating. But the main thing between acrylic and oils, acrylics you don't they're not forgiving. They dry almost instantly, and the cure time is probably only a couple of hours. Whereas oil paints, once you start using them, you have a working time that's probably in the matter of 5 to 6 hours. And even if you came back the next day, depending on the type of oil paints you used, you can probably reactivate it the next day too, if you're not happy with the way it turned out.
I don't know if I should do this, Ralph. Marty, his comment is, the name of Ralph's new weathering show should be called the Get Off My Lawn Weathering Show.
He's been listening to too many podcasts.
Yeah.
I've been, and my wife says it as well, that I'm a grumpy old man.
Or, there's an or to this. There's always an or. Weathering with Dr. Mud.
Weathering with what?
Dr. Mud.
Well, the whole clinic is called Workbench to Mainline, and I show you the basics and set you on a course that, if you're really interested, there's no returning from. Because once you get into it, you start looking at everything in a whole different way. It's gotten to the point now where my wife will be driving along and she'll go underneath an overpass where there's trains passing by, or a crossing, and she has to stop. And she starts to look at the weathering, not the train going by, how the cars have weathered, and then reports back to me. So you'll look at it in a whole different light once you start getting really into it.
Yeah, AJ's got a comment here. He said, I watched Ralph on Trainmaster TV, and the one thing I got out was broker, thanks to the new techniques I learned and the new materials I subsequently bought. So, AJ says, thank you, Ralph.
You're welcome.
So I take you're thanking him for a lighter pocketbook?
Yeah. Actually, the Winsor Newton oils, if you got a Hobby Lobby around in your area, you can print off their 40% coupon. Of course, that's just for one item, but still, it gives you a decent discount on the Winsor Newton oils. I've done that.
If you're lucky like me and have a Hobby Lobby like right next to your work, you just go in once a day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So by the end of the week, you have all your supplies that you need for the weekend.
Yeah.
Or even twice a day, depending on shift change.
I haven't
the
paid
thing with
attention
oils,
over there.
the thing with oils is, I mean, it may cost you a few bucks to buy a tube of oils, but they will last you a long time.
They'll
Unless
last
you're just
very long time.
Unless you're just squirting out bunches on a pallet somewhere,
Yeah, normally you just
it's
take
an investment that's going to be a long way down the road.
Yeah, usually it's best just to use a toothpick to take out a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, AJ said, I'm thanking him for expanding my knowledge, which we knew, AJ, but we got to mess with you anyway.
Because we enjoy doing it.
Yeah, we like him.
Like Andy says, if we're picking on you, you know we like you.
Yeah. Andy goes, I heard my name. What was it?
Yeah, being nice. When you worry is when we're being super nice to you. That's the time to worry about it. Oh, and I want to chime in. Your wife's a keeper, by the way, Ralph. I'm sure you figured that out after the many years. But any woman who will point out something railroady to you of any kind, especially what you're into, that's a keeper.
Yep. I figured that one out a while ago.
Yeah. I asked my wife about, working in here with me, doing something like that, and she kind of chuckled in my face.
That's the common response that we get.
Well, see, I get my craft paints from her. I don't have to go to Walmart. And the ones she buys are not the $1.49 ones. She buys the ones that are $3 a bottle. So I get the better quality.
Got you a deal on them?
They're a real good deal.
Yeah.
She lets him in the bedroom
Yeah.
when it's bedtime.
Steve Riley asked, painting road lines on a layout like parking spaces, yellow lines, cross lines, what do you guys use to make the lines? Some people say paint, some say tape. I haven't seen tape, straight up tape, look good. Although if you're masking them, I think there's a tape the pinstripers at RC use that are very good for getting really fine lines for masking, or to me it makes a masking. And then airbrush the lines. That is surefire way to get a really good, especially depending on what kind of material you're using for roads. Mine are a mix of asphalt patch. I like it pretty good for background roads, but it has a texture. So painting is kind of a prerequisite. Also, Highways and Byways, who's a sponsor of the Saturday show as well, they make some lines, and I've seen Gino's results with them, a few other people's results with them, and they do look really exceptional. I've got some of the tape from Builders in Scale here, and it's okay. It's a fine material, and if you took a burnishing tool and rubbed it into the texture, it would possibly work. But in my city area, I'm going to be using Monster Model Works laser cut wood with the dividing lines for the expansion joints. It's got cracks and stuff in it. So painting is going to be a prerequisite for my.
Yeah, he said black paint on his roads. Yeah,
but be careful with black paint, because a true asphalt is only black, and it's basically a shade of gray when it goes down fresh. Within days, it starts to go a lighter gray.
Much lighter. It's much lighter than I ever see credit for. In concrete, like all of my roads are concrete, it's just a shade of gray away from white.
Yeah.
So what I do is the asphalt patch is fairly gray, but when I sand it, after it hardens and I sand it to a semi-smooth surface, it whitens it up tremendously, and then I use AIM pigments on it to weather it.
Out there at the store, what we did, since we used Smooth It to make the roads, and painted them black. We just made templates out of real thin styrene, and then went back and used white or yellow paint to paint the lines in. Yeah.
Well, not that I'm pushing this product, but if you're looking for ease of doing your lines, Woodland Scenics has a paint line pen.
Yeah.
It's a felt marker.
Yeah.
And if you're going to weather your roads, that would be the ideal thing, because it doesn't go on solid color. It's sort of washed out a bit.
Yeah.
And they will stick. That bends and stuff. The problem with a lot of the templates that at any of the methods really is that most of my roads are curved. I mean, this is Appalachia. They're not a straight spot anywhere. They just the old adage is they slapped a goat on the butt, then they paved behind wherever it went. So so it's really hard to template it. You can mask it, but the stickers or the decals work pretty well, but the paint pen's pretty good technique, but you need to mask for it or use a straight edge.
Those kind of roads are great for doing rally racing or shine running.
Oh well, yeah, they were built around that. YouTube, you'll find a lot of people on motorcycles. Appalachia's, well, there's a lot of roads that are fairly famous.
Dragontail, been there, done it.
Yep, I have to have rode it too. There's a bunch of those though, but for modeling, they're just lead to modeling so well. They look like something out of that. It's not out of the real world. It doesn't look, because the roads hanging on the side of a hill and just darting around, but they're beautiful for modeling.
Yeah, Steve. You can always go back and do a little weathering on the road. They'll lighten it up. Just add a little gray wash to it. He's also wanting to know, do you get bleed if you mask? Yes, you will. CJ up here was talking one night in one of the live chats. He said if you're masking something off with tape, take some soft bar soap and rub along the edge of it, and that way the paint won't bleed under the masking tape. Then you just lift the tape up and wipe the soap off. You're not going to have that much soap on there anyway, so, which is a really good idea.
Well, Phil just made a point. Use frog tape. Frog tape is a product that was originally designed for latex or water-based paint. And you can form it around corners. It's masking tape, but the glue in it is designed so that as soon as moisture touches it, it seals the edge. So when I use this for masking on my models, I'll put it on, and then I'll take a brush, dip it in some water, and go over the edges so it seals it before I put my paint on.
Huh. Okay. I didn't know that part about frog tape, but
yeah. And it's a low tack masking tape, so when it comes off, it's not pulling stuff with it.
Yeah. 3M brought it out actually back when they started doing and getting into the waterborne paint in the commercial lines.
But it's not as subjective, or it's not as influenced by water, is what you're suggesting. So, see, the problem I have a lot is I make up my tie strips, tape them down to paper tape, to masking tape, and as I use my stains on it, that it gets so tacky, and I end up spending a lot of time cleaning up that tackiness. But if it's not as subjective, if the tackiness doesn't come off with water so much, maybe it wouldn't come off with my staining. I got to give that frog tape a shot.
There's two versions of it. They have this in green and they have it in yellow. The yellow is the more flexible of the two. The green's a little bit thicker. And usually what I do, I don't know whether you can see it, but I've got an edge here cut.
Yeah.
So what I do is I lay my X-Acto knife down on the bench, and that distance is the distance from the bottom of my blade, bottom of my knife to my blade. So that's what I'm cutting. And I peel that off and I use it to run all over the place because it's less than 1/4 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. And you can, as long as you're running your fingers along it as you're putting it down, you can bend it around corners, do whatever you want. You can leave it to 1 inch or 3/4 inch thick.
If you have a little bit more money to throw at tape, you can also, they sell it as fine line tape. And you can buy it in 1/16, 1/4 inch, a few different versions. And then you can also find masking tape where it'll be a 1/16, a gap, and a 1/16 to where you can lay down 2 pieces at the same time. They use it in pinstriping. But it's a green frog tape, it's the same thing. And you can lay both sides of it at the same time, so you always have a perfect stripe in between. I don't think they'll sell it at hobby shops, but they'll sell it in automotive supply stores, which anybody can walk in off the street if you know where they're at.
Yeah, for doing pinstriping.
Yep, for doing pinstriping, and you can buy it in whatever size gap you want. A 1/16 inch or an 1/8 inch in between, or a 1/2 inch. You can buy 1/2 inch frog tape. You can buy 1/4 inch frog tape.
Steve said thanks for the good ideas.
You're welcome.
And we done hit the 1:38 mark here, so I think we'll wind this thing up. So anybody got any very last minute short comments?
Check out YouTube Model Builders and come to the Hangouts. Don't be scared.
Yeah, we're not going to bite you.
You know, I'm as I got told yesterday, I'm the new kid on the block, and I'm not scared. And if you want, I'll hold your hand. We can both look like the newbies together.
I didn't want to scare him off, CJ. Alrighty, let's get over here and whoops, don't want to rerun that. Alrighty, I want to say go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com. There you can find the schedules for all our shows, the Tuesday and Wednesday shows. Those shows are at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time. The Thursday once a week show and the Saturday once a month show with Big Bill and Barry. Those are at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern time. So be sure and check the schedules and check your time zone so you'll be able to see the show live. If you did happen to miss the show because of work or whatever, I had to go out, that's not a problem. We do record these shows and you'll find those on YouTube. Just search YouTube Model Builders. We have playlists that we put the shows in, so it'll make it a little easier for you to find them. Also click on the EMAG up there in the website. That way when the EMAG comes out, you'll get a notification. JD and his team do a really good job on that. Also want to remind you about the 2 newest shows we have. One has already started. He's already aired once. That's Joe's show. It's called Into the Locomotive Shop. And that's turned out to be good. His first one was really good, and the rest of them are going to follow suit to that. So check him out. He's on Wednesday nights. Excuse me. And our own Mr. Ralph here is starting a new series, weathering series, from the bench to the main line. And that's going to start October the 24th at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time. So be sure and tune in, because if you've seen Ralph's pictures or been to any of his clinics, you know he's puts on a good show there, or a good clinic I should say. That's exactly what you're doing here, right, Ralph? Is you just going to do your clinic here?
Pretty well. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
easiest way to do it is on camera is just to explain it as I'm going along.
Yeah.
And then if there's any questions, feel free.
Yeah, that's another good thing about the shows, being in the live chat. Got a question, ask it. Ralph will answer it right then for you.
That's it. How did my wife put it? She says you have rock stars in your group, because I was telling her that a few people in the Hangouts, they actually go to the shows and do seminars, and so she goes, "Oh, you have rock stars." So I said, "Yeah, I guess we have rock stars in our group."
And we have our groupies.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a groupie.
No, I wasn't talking about you.
All righty. So let's see. Looks like the only thing I got for next week is going to be a Thursday show. Well, I'll be darned. Let me get my other book out here and make sure. I don't want to be getting a bunch of emails. No, I apologize. Next week on Wednesday the 18th, that's Into the Locomotive Shop with Joe. That'll be 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time. And then the 21st, we'll have the live show with Big Bill and Barry. So we got 3 shows next week. Into the Locomotive Shop, Thursday show, and the live show. Alrighty. So we got a pretty good week going next week. So we shall see you next Wednesday night for Joe's Into the Locomotive Shop. Want to say good night and have a good weekend. Be safe. Bye.
Night, John.